Hey guys, hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. November just flew right by me, right? Okay. So, welcome to well, technically it is our November social work, a day in the life of a social worker for the month of November, right? Your girl's running a little behind, but that's all right. That's okay. But anyway, welcome to social work. You know what? I should do this like a social work talk, social work chat. I don't know. I'm trying to think of maybe like a new theme going into 2021. Cannot believe it. We are at the end of the year. Mm. Well, anyway, so I don't really have a topic for November. I just kind of wanted to check in. Um, Kind of like what are your states doing to get ready for this next phase, if you guys know what I mean. As you guys know, we are still in this pandemic. Um, we are, I guess, what they call the second wave of, I'm sure you guys know what's going on, right? COVID. So I don't know what your states are doing to get ready. Like, what are they doing different? I don't know. I know you guys are in different states. As you know, I am in Connecticut, part of the tri-state, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. And the numbers, of course, are going up, right? So, what are your states doing different? I know we learned from earlier this year. So, I believe that we're in a much better place, right? I definitely believe that we're in a much better place, considering that we had time to focus on this virus. We had time to do a little research. We had time to come up with a treatment plan, a plan period, right? So, what are your states doing? Like, again, my hospital, of course, right now, I'm sure like every hospital, we still got PPE, right? There is definitely, I don't want to say we're short staff, but what I do notice this time around is just more staff are getting hit more than before, which is kind of like puzzling to me, like what's happening. So, whereas before, of course, it was just an abundance amount of people, right? And staff was not that staff didn't get it too, but it was it was more patience, right? So now I do notice this time around, it's like every time I turn around, one of my, my one of my coworkers was affected, whether they were exposed or they actually have it. So then they either have to quarantine for 14 days or so I'm just curious to know what are your states doing to get ready, or are they ready? I know we're never going to be 100% ready. So let's just be real, right? So like for example, again, I can't talk about patients and stuff like that, but I can definitely give you a case scenario. So recently, a couple weeks ago, I had a case, right? So November, we're going to talk about this. We're going to do a case this month, right? So my case was I don't want to say, well, they're considered elderly, but they were probably late 60s, right? Late 60s. Husband and wife lives together, have adult children, and have other family in the area, sister in the area, brother, again, elderly, family members in the area. Husband has been coming to the hospital multiple times for fall. Always declines to go to a SNF, short-term rehab. We call STR, short-term rehab, or SNF for skilled nursing facility, in case you guys don't know some of the abbreviation that we use in the hospital. So on this encounter, they came back again, right? Because husband fell. Now, of course, when patients come into the hospital, we are testing them. And if they are COVID negative, they go to one unit versus if they're positive, they go to another unit, right? So husband came in, COVID negative, was fine, has been here 4 to 5 days. I got a consult regarding some safety concerns at home because, again, spouse mentioned some concerns regarding the home, he's becoming more and more difficult to manage because of early stages of dementia, as well as, I guess he was a hunter. So because he was a hunter, he had some guns in the home. So spouse happened to mention to, the doctor that concern for her safety, that, never, not that he ever threatened her. He never took a gun out and never used a gun, but she just kind of voiced that, right? Now, I always say the moment a family member, friend, somebody voice any type of safety concerns, of course, we can't just overlook it, right? We always have to assess the situation. So, of course, both patients alert and oriented to a certain extent, and spouses alert. Spoke to spouse. Of course, once I mentioned that, the moment you mention that there are weapons in the home and that you're afraid, guess what I have to do? I have to call the police and make a report, and they have to go to the house. And usually, if there is a safety concerns, the weapons have to get removed out of the home. So then, of course, the spouse became, I don't want to say annoyed with me. She understood where I was coming from, but then she also became annoyed because it's like, wait, why are you doing all this? Well, I'm doing all this because you voice your concern. So the moment you voice concerns and safety issues, we have to act. We cannot, if God forbid, if we did not act on this and then something happened and he went home and shot you, guess who was liable? The hospital, correct? So because of that, we have to act. So then, of course, I told her now she's kind of anxious and worried because now she's like, her husband's going to be upset because blah, 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 blah. Then I also have to tell her that, well, do you want to tell him? Because I also do have to go up and talk to him and tell him as well. So sure enough, she's like, well, give me to lunchtime. I said, okay, no problem. Lunchtime came, nothing. So finally, I had to go. I had to go upstairs and meet the patient anyway, right? So, of course, we are being safe. So I have on my mask. I have on my goggles. We can do goggles or face shield. And we don't have to do gloves. Again, he was COVID negative. So because of that, I had on my mask. I have on my goggles. And I stood 6 feet away, which I always do 6 feet away. But with him, I was particularly 6 feet away because he does have a violent tendency, and I did see in notes that there was some altercation with security. So because I'm going upstairs to tell you that we're about to remove your guns at the house, of course I was more than 6 feet away, right? Told him, he was very upset, but took it, he was calm. Did what I had to do, called the police, sent the address, told the wife, told him. Police went to the house, again, did their assessment. And based on their assessment and based on the spouse saying that, no, she feels fine. The guns are like years old. He was a hunter. They're not a threat and they are locked up away. So there was no safety concerns and she felt fine. So because of that, the guns stayed in the house. They didn't have to get removed. Weekend goes by. Patient got discharged, right? Come back to work Monday. Now, one of my units always remain a COVID unit because it's a respiratory unit. So it never switched over, whereas everything else had switched over until now. So went home, like I said, 4 or 5 days later, came back. Guess what? Now he's positive. And I'm like, wait, what? They have to notify everybody that was in contact or in the chart because they can go back and look at the chart to see who was in the chart so that they can notify you that you have been exposed. And again, our process is you call the hotline. If you're having any signs and symptoms, they're going to ask you certain questions. Again, I have no signs, no symptoms, no temperature, no fever, nothing. And at the same time, I had on my PPE. I was 6 feet apart. So that's considered a low risk. And because it's considered low risk, there's no need for you to get tested. You just got to pretty much self-monitor. Not quarantine or anything like that, but just self-monitor. But with that being said, again, 5-6 days prior that this person was hospitalized, they were negative the whole time. So it's like, and this is why I say, we have to be, I know people don't want to hear it. I know Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, everyone wants to be with their family. Who doesn't, right? Everyone wants what they want. We want the big dinners. We want to be with our friends, but we have to be careful. We have to be mindful. And again, this affects everyone, not just the elderly, not just, I think there was like all this certain, then it was like, oh, it's elderly. Then it was, oh, certain people with comorbidities. Okay. Then it was like, oh, it seemed like it was more black people because, black people, they have hypertension, they have short, it's affecting everyone. Okay. There is no discrimination when it comes to disease and viruses. There's none. I always say the one thing that does not discriminate is disease. It's virus. It's cancer. It's this. Yes, there might be certain race that might have a higher statistics than other race, but let me tell you, disease does not discriminate, honey. If you're gonna get it, it doesn't matter if you're young, old, middle age, white, black, Hispanic, it does not matter. So with that being said, as a social worker, of course, we have to provide support. And at the same time, we have to be safe because we do go in rooms, right? We're social workers. We see people face to face. So with that being said, of course, now we're doing more of telehealth, which is phone assessments. And then there are some of us that are doing, again, that telehealth in the computer. But think about it. It's a hospital. Patients don't have access to a computer in the room all the time. So majority of it is a phone assessment. And we have to adjust. And I think the biggest thing right now is people don't want to adjust because we are a culture where we're used to certain things and we have a hard time. I think everyone right now is diagnosed with adjustment disorder. Because even for me, we have to adjust. And I had to adjust. I don't like wearing a mask every day. I don't want to put goggles on. I really don't. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to. But when I go on my units or if I go on any floors, I have to be safe. Because one, I got to think about my family, my coworkers, because we do share our office space, even though we have our individual sections. So I had to think about that. So, as social workers, we're providing support, again, patients, families, staff, everyone. And we need support, right? Because at the end of the day, I think we're giving so much of ourselves, especially now, you guys. If you are a social worker, the month of November and December are heavy. Everyone, it's mental health. When I mean the EDs, everything is flooded. And this is every year around the holiday time. People are depressed, they're lonely, substance abuse is on high, depression, suicide, it's just on the high. November, December, like the 2 months that it's just like, it's a happy time, but it's not happy time for everyone. So because of that, it brings them all in the ED, right? And then they get admitted into inpatient and so on and so on. So with that being said, I'm always big on checking on friends and family and just having someone check on you. I always say, I do so well. I get up, I get dressed, do my makeup on, put my clothes on, just walk around like the hospital's my runway. Because that's part of what gets me going. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I'm not down. That doesn't mean that I'm not sad or just so much that I have seen that yes, it does affect me. And I thank God for my fate. I thank God for my family. And then having other people, like my sister is a child psychologist, so we do a lot of that talking because we understand each other, because she works with children who are suicidal, eating disorders, so to go on. So having people, whether it's in your field or some type of field that's similar to yours, because you guys understand each other, right? And you can talk to them, nurses, I have a lot of friends that are nurses, so they get me and I get them, so, just being there. Sometimes you just gotta listen, but then sometimes you need somebody there for you. So as social workers, don't forget to reach out for help for yourself. It's okay to have therapy. It's okay to talk to somebody that you trust or another colleague that's a social worker, that's a friend. So, because we are it for everybody else. We are it. And I will continue this for my December a day in the life of a social worker as well, because we are it. And I think sometimes people forget that we need a moment or we need someone to hug us or hold our hand or cry or just to let it out, because we're so busy being it for everyone around us. So with that being said, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Again, it's, we make it work, me, my family. And we make it work. You know, that's all we can do on this time. And Christmas, we'll do the same. We'll make it work. I'm home. I'm tired. I worked all day, and I'm on call from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. So if anything happens in the emergency room, I get to go back. And I still got to go to work tomorrow morning. So, you know, hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and I'll see you next month. And if you have any ideas, any topics, or any questions, you know, definitely leave them down below. I will get to them as soon as I can. All right. So let's check in with each other. All right. All right, guys. I'll see you in my next video.